can see about this.
I know. We should.
Make sure I sign one anyway. I'll sign.
Pittman, has got something special. I think he's got. Welcome, guys, to the Gridiron Gurus, presented by Famisphere. My name's Keith. I'm joined by Jesse. Sorry, guys, we've not been here for a couple weeks, but we're back. We got a lot of things to talk about. Some games last week as well as the games this week. We usually do our picks on the show. I don't think time is going to permit us to do that today. But we will be putting those out on Twitter and on Facebook and hopefully TikTok. And make sure you guys go check those out, like it, comment on them, let us know where we are really right at, or maybe where we're really wrong at. Haven't even looked at the overall chart. I think that I'm winning, but I could be wrong. I'm not. Started off strong, and then I'm losing ground. I think we made the joke of tortoise in the hare, and I may have rubbed it in Jesse's face that the hare was running away with it, and apparently the tortoise is caught up. And
not the tortoise, the horse cats.
I completely forgot about that joke. The tortoise is got on the horse cat, and he is catching up quickly to the hare. I need to do a better job on my picks. Not played so safe, I guess. Played safe, and I've been burned a couple times. But anyways, I'm going to get right into the games last week, and the big one that stood out to me was the Florida-Sanford game for a couple of different reasons. Obviously, Dan Mullen is having trouble with some of the comments he's made. We talked about this before. Didn't think it was that big of a deal, the comments. Apparently, there has been a lot bigger deal made about it around the Florida program. I think the Thursday or Friday before the Sanford game, he fired his DC. And that was a bad mistake, obviously, because I think Sanford put up 52 on them, had a chance going into halftime. They may have been up at halftime. I'm not really sure. But how do you give up 52 points to not Stanford, not the Pac-12 team, that little school called Sanford, that you are in a dogfight at home against? I don't know how that happens.
Anytime I hear Sanford, I always think of the show. Remember the show Sanford and Son?
Sanford and
That's
Sons.
That's all I get in my head.
Right.
And I can hear the theme song too. Anyways, and that show was a comedy, much like the game that unfolded on Saturday, because it was definitely a laughing matter. It wasn't anything to really enjoy it all. It was the
whole situation in Florida right now is almost a comedy, and I can't believe it.
The comments that you were talking about, though, the statements he made, and they were based on recruiting. I still don't have any problem with the comments. I think that the comments were way blown out of proportion, but now at the same time, you can't make comment like we had talked about this once before off air. Spurrier made comments all the time,
right?
But he could get by with it because he won ball games.
Exactly.
He could say stuff like that. Dan Mullen can't make comments and then lose to South Carolina the week after, and then almost lose to Sanford.
Right.
You just can't do that.
You're giving them reason to fire you.
No doubt. You're definitely
giving them reason for yourself to be looking for a job. It's one thing, like you said, it's one thing to say, we'll talk about recruiting when the time comes, which is essentially.
I have nothing wrong with.
I see nothing wrong with that. And then you go out and you beat South Carolina handedly, like they should have, and then you give up maybe a touchdown to Sanford, and you beat them 50-something to 7, 50-something to 3. I mean, they may get a touchdown or a field goal you shut those critics up. Yeah. That's what that essentially does. Because after those games, you can come back in and say, we're going to talk about recruiting in the offseason. And there's nothing that they can say. But now, especially after you fire your DC and then you give up 52, it's not a good situation. You can't do that.
I've got stats pulled up here. No, actually, what ends up happening is you make those comments. You lose to South Carolina, and I feel like the South Carolina. I don't remember the score of the South Carolina game. They lost by a couple scores though, didn't they?
I'm pretty sure.
It was a pretty bad loss.
I'm pretty sure you're right. Actually, while you're talking, I'm going to look that score up.
And then you come out against Sanford, and they were down at the half. By the way, they were.
I thought they were about that touchdown or maybe 2.
They were down by a touchdown. They were down 42-35 at halftime to Sanford.
Crazy.
It took a 21-point third quarter. They went on a 21-point run in order for them to get out in front of Sanford. And then the worst part, the icing on. Well, let me read some of these stats before I say my nail in the coffin line. They let Liam Welch for Samford have a career day. It's probably the best stats he'll ever have as a Samford Bulldog. I saw a stat somewhere,
Florida, which is crazy. He can't do that against the whatever conference that they're in. He can't do that against those opponents.
I saw a stat somewhere, and I think Cody Muse, shout out Cody Muse, is the one that sent it to me.
Right.
That that Samford on that day had scored more points than they put up all season.
I think
by halftime they had scored more points than they put up all season. And then there was another stat that they had scored more points in the first quarter than they had scored on any FBS team in the last, I don't know if it was all season or last couple seasons. I can't remember what that stat was.
I think it was this season. It doesn't
still
matter.
Like some kind of mind blowing stat. But they gave up 33 completions on 52 attempts and 400 yards passing to Liam Welch. He'll probably never throw for 400 yards the rest of the year. No offense to you, Liam Welch.
No, it's no offense to him. It's an indictment on Florida.
Absolutely.
I mean, he can only take what they give him, and they gave him
then
a lot.
They let Montrell Washington. Actually, all of these dudes had great days, but Montrell Washington may have had the best day. Montrell Washington caught 10 passes for 124 yards and a touchdown.
Right.
Jairus, I hope I'm saying that right. Jairus Creamer caught 7 balls for 96 yards. Michael Weiss caught 4 passes for 94 yards and a touchdown. And those are the 3 that really stand out.
All right.
But how in the world does any SEC secondary,
even Vandy,
I'm thinking Vandy. I know Vandy's awful, but I'm like, Vandy, really?
Yeah. When you see Vandy versus a Samford, I'm not saying Samford in particular, but a Samford type school, you're going, okay, well, that's a win for Vandy.
Yeah,
and probably convincingly.
Yeah, I mean, they lost to ETSU, and everybody was shocked.
Exactly. That's exactly my point.
But I don't know. I know. I will say this though. At halftime, I was a Samford Bulldog. I was pulling for Samford. Hate Florida that bad. But anyway.
Well, I mean, even if you're not a fan of either school, and you really don't care one way or the other, you part of just human nature says you pull for Samford. Right. Just because they're the underdog, they're the small school. I got a couple stats for you, but you pull for those guys.
Well, before you get those stats, here's my nail in the coffin statement. A video comes out after the game's already over,
right?
And I really hope that I say that past tense because I think it was already confirmed, but I hoped that it wasn't of that day. I hoped it was another game they were celebrating. There was a video of them in the locker room after the game.
Yeah,
and they're all jumping and dancing, and Dan Mullen's in the thick of it. He's dancing, and they're celebrating this win over Samford, and people are like, really? This is the culture that you're building. You're going to celebrate a win, a comeback victory over Samford.
Right.
And at first I thought, no, somebody has taken that video from another game, and they're trying to make it look like it was today. No, somebody had confirmed that he was wearing the exact same Veterans Day shirt because he had on like a military green.
I did not know that, but
it's confirmed that it was from that day. He was wearing the exact same gear.
That's not
and
good.
So yeah, after the game they celebrated like they had won the SEC championship after a win over Samford.
Okay, so and that's not good. I'm 100% with you. Okay, so here's my first stat for you, and we're spending a little bit of time on this, but it's a big story. Florida has lost, 3, 4, 5 games. Alabama, understandable, a 2-point loss.
Yeah.
You lose to Kentucky, a 7-point loss in Lexington. It's understandable. Kentucky is not a bad football team. You lose to LSU, and LSU's not very good. By 7. Mm-hmm. Then you turn around, you get throttled by Georgia. Again, that's understandable. Georgia is the best team in the nation. I think there's any. But then you give up 40 points to South Carolina,
who's not good.
No, it's not a good football team. You lose 40-17 That was the final in that game.
Yeah, I'm looking at this right now, and that's not good.
And then you score 70 on Samford. You should. But you shouldn't have to score 70. And they had to.
They had to score 70 or they weren't winning the ball game.
And the remaining teams on their schedule is Missouri. And at this point, I don't know that it's a win. And then you have Florida State. And I don't know that that's a win.
I've been saying for weeks. I have been saying for weeks on this show, Florida State, or the Florida game, we've been talking about Norvell.
Right.
The Florida game, I'm circling because I've said the same thing about South Carolina and Clemson too. And both those games now we're going to be looking at like,
I think you're right.
Because Norvell he's trying to build a program down there in Tallahassee.
Mm-hmm.
And what better win to get than to beat Florida, especially kicking while they're down.
Absolutely.
Same thing with Beamer, Shane Beamer in South Carolina. He's looking for a program building win. What better win than to get Clemson while they're down?
He already got that against Florida.
Yeah. So
he's got it rolling. That's what I'm saying. He's got it rolling in the right direction.
Right.
So they might.
There is a real chance. Excuse me, and I don't know if we would have said this. Looking back at the Alabama loss, you think what happened? Because after the Alabama loss, everybody thought, okay, well they'll get a rematch because Florida's going to win the East.
Right.
Well, then they lost to Kentucky, and at that time, the Kentucky loss that's a bad loss. That's a bad loss. You shouldn't lose to Kentucky. Kentucky's a good football team, but you still shouldn't lose to Kentucky.
I can understand
Looking back
it.
Now we understand it. I mean, yeah, Kentucky's a good football team, but at that time, it was in everybody's mind, including Florida fans especially, you don't lose to Kentucky.
Right.
I don't care how good Kentucky has gotten. You don't lose to Kentucky.
Right.
And now you're looking at these, and the Kentucky loss is a good loss.
Right.
Alabama's a good loss.
Right.
And I'm looking at this now, and there's a real possibility that they don't make a bowl game.
Right.
And if they don't make a bowl game, I don't see how Dan Mullen survives. I don't see how Dan Mullen survived the weekend.
Last weekend?
Yes.
100% agree.
I do not understand how. I don't care if they did win 70-52. I don't understand how he is still on the head coach at Florida.
I agree.
After a performance like that.
I agree.
After they were on a 3-game losing streak. The LSU loss, that's a huge rivalry. You're in Death Valley, 7-point loss to a team that is really looking for any type of spark after their coaches are resigning.
Right.
They still are talented. Okay. Then you get blown out. Yes, Georgia is the best football team in the country, but that's a huge rivalry. You got to have some type of fight in you. Put up more than 7 points at least. That was bad. And then, okay, well, you've taken 2 hard losses. You're finally you're going to get back on track with this South Carolina game, and to get blown out.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not disagreeing with anything you're saying.
To get blown out by a team that had just lost to Vandy a week or 2 weeks prior.
Man, I'm not disagreeing. You're not finding an argument on this side of the table.
Who was the athletic director at Florida? How in the world are you not thinking, okay, Samford better be a huge win or you're gone?
Right.
At halftime, I would have been saying, okay, go ahead and get that Dan Mullen pink slip ready. Anyways, we spent a lot of time on this, but I don't understand it. I don't get it.
I'm with you. 100% I'm with you. Last that I'm going to give you, and then we're going to move on. Guess where Florida is, not in the SEC overall. SEC East.
5th, but I'm cheating. I'm looking at it right now. Yeah, I can't believe it either. I was pulling up their schedule.
They're 6th.
Oh, they're 6th? Oh, my bad. 6th. Okay.
The only team that is lower than them is Vandy.
Yeah,
that's the only team.
That's bad.
Well, they're tied for 5th, I guess.
I'll tell you what, Missouri's running back, what is that guy's name? He's having he is in good company right now. Like he's having some career highs. He's breaking some records. Honestly, the way he's playing, I wouldn't be surprised if Missouri if at Missouri. I wouldn't be surprised if Missouri beat them this Saturday. It wouldn't surprise me.
I want to disagree. I want to but I can't. I can't disagree because there's almost like that kind of mentality of kick them while they're down. And yeah, they're celebrating after this, but they're down. I mean, I'm sorry, but it is what it is. I'm actually going to look up the line on that.
That's exactly what I was just thinking about doing. Trying to do. I don't see a line. I do see that the ESPN, which I don't ever buy into these. I don't think they're ever always right. But the ESPN Power Index gives Florida a 76.7% chance of winning the ball game. Like I said, I don't buy into those because I'm sure they had a bigger percentage to beat South Carolina, and that didn't happen.
No, they got thumped. I mean, it's what it is. Okay, so let's move on. Another coach that is in his first year, and you mentioned something to me just before we started recording, is on the hot seat, and I don't understand it. It's Sarkisian at Texas, but then then they get thumped by Kansas.
Yeah, I don't know that it's actually a real hot seat, or if it's just fans.
It's warming up.
And the article that I read was from a guy with, I think, CBS Sports, and I think it was just his opinion of he should be out. I don't see how you can. Do I think he's? Well, I was critical. If you remember in the offseason, I was critical of the hire anyway. I didn't think he was the fit for Texas.
I did,
but the only reason I said that though is because I thought his lack of immaturity or his immaturity level. I mean, like I just thought that he wasn't ready yet, and that was my thing. But now I think he's kind of been dealt a little bit of a rough hand, and even if he's not the guy, even if he is not a good hire, you got to give a guy more than a year.
100%.
You spent all that money. You got to give him more than a year to let him try it out. I don't think that getting rid of him after 1 year is the right move.
Well, what's your answer? That's my thing with the Michigan. That's my thing with even Florida at this point. What's your answer?
I'll tell you. Here's my thing. I'll tell you exactly who I would go after. If I'm the Texas athletic director, I'm like, okay, we're going to make a move. There's a guy in your conference that you should go after. Matt Campbell.
Right. I agree with that. Matt Campbell's
the guy.
If he leaves Iowa State, or if he doesn't survive the year.
Surely he would leave Ohio, or I almost said Ohio State too. Surely he would leave Iowa State for Texas. Surely.
I don't know. It's one of those things.
But anyways,
is the grass always greener? But here's what I'm saying is, if you're Texas, if you're Michigan, do you really go out and try to compete with LSU and probably Florida for a head coach? Because here's the Sarkisian is he just signed him less than a year ago.
Yeah.
You're going to have to buy him out.
Yep.
Are you going to have the funds
to buy him out and then compete with a big hire
with
Florida
with another couple of big schools that are looking that probably don't have as big? Well, I take that back. LSU, which the money that I reckon they're throwing at Lincoln Riley is a lot.
That one, I want to hear your thoughts on that because on one side of the track, I could see it from Lincoln Riley's perspective because here's my thing. An Oklahoma team in the SEC is going to be middle to the back of the pack.
I agree. They'll be ahead of Texas at this point.
Oh, they're definitely ahead of Texas. But I think that when they come into the SEC, I think they're already behind. So I mean, if you put Oklahoma in the SEC and you compare Oklahoma and LSU, then LSU has the nod. But as of
100%.
right now, I feel like Oklahoma has the edge because you're in a conference where you are the top dog. You are one of the biggest, most recognizable brands in college football. Right. You're already established with enough talent.
I think that carries over. The brand
carries over. But I'm just saying, like, why leave something that you're already in a position to compete for a national championship with now? Why not? I mean, why not ride it out?
I see what you're saying. So to give people perspective, for this, we're kind of jumping from the Texas, but that's fine. To give people perspective, the LSU offer was, I think, 8-year, $96 million was the contract.
Wow.
Which equates to $12 million a year. Right now, he's getting 7.6-ish a year from Oklahoma. So, you're talking about a $4.5 million difference.
Yeah.
Here's my thing that Lincoln Riley has to weigh. And it's not, I mean, the money is the money, but here's what he has to weigh. Exactly what you just said. When we do make the switch here in 3 years, I think it's three or 4 years from Big 12 to the SEC. I said Big 10. yes, LSU will be a much better job.
Oh, yeah.
As far as the SEC goes.
Yeah.
But can he win a national title in that span? Because if he can win a national title within the span of the next 4 years, then all of a sudden his recruiting jumps, and he's able to have a better positioning as far as SEC recruiting goes. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm following you.
And he has to look at, if I go to LSU, yeah, I might be able to recruit a little better, but it might be another 3 years before I can have the same opportunity for a national title I do at Oklahoma, and I have a better chance for it in a weaker conference in the Big 12.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
No, I'm with you.
He has to weigh that. Does he go ahead and make the jump now? Because he's going to make the jump to the SEC eventually, but can I win a national title and increase my chances to survive in the SEC?
Yeah. In that perspective,
right.
I think that yes, I think that you make the jump, but just because.
See, I don't.
Well, here's my thing though. Oklahoma is, I think that they're a playoff team for a few years to come with the talent he's got.
Oklahoma, absolutely.
But
especially with Texas not doing
the thing is though, do you have enough talent to get over the hump? What I mean by that is, do you have enough talent to beat Georgia or Alabama? I don't know that he does. And LSU, you will get that talent. You honestly have enough talent to compete year one. But to get over the hump, you'll have that talent with as good of a recruiter as Lincoln Riley is, and as good of a coach as Lincoln Riley is, and being able to put kids in the right places and scheme. I think that he's able to get over the hump in probably year 2 or 3.
See, I don't think so, and the reason I say that is not him, and I don't think he can get over the hump whether he's at Oklahoma or LSU, because Georgia and Alabama are just that good.
They're
just that good.
But I mean, Kirby Smart just hit that this year.
Right.
I mean, last few years have not been. Which now, and then I say that, was it 18? Was 2018 that Lincoln Riley was playing Kirby Smart in Georgia in the Rose Bowl? Actually had them down.
Yeah.
And Georgia had to make a comeback to win.
Right.
So, I don't know, and that kind of deflates my whole argument, I guess.
That's the joy of being in this seat. I can just sit back and let you talk.
The biggest thing, though, is that the biggest thing for me, though, is that he does have to kind of start over.
Exactly.
Per se.
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying is he's already established and in a weaker conference right now.
Yeah.
So
I do feel
he needs to look at that outlook over the next 3 years. Can I get it at least into the national title game with Oklahoma versus going to LSU and then, like you said, year 3 or year 4, whenever Oklahoma is coming in?
Yeah.
Am I in the same position I would have been in already?
I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see because...
And the money's big, too. The money's another part of that.
Yeah. It's a different... it was a different situation. But like Jimbo Fisher, when all the talk was about him and A&M, I thought, because Florida State's a much bigger brand than Texas A&M. Even now, Florida State's a much bigger brand. It's a more well-known brand.
I agree.
And so...
A&M is in a better spot, though.
They're in a better spot now. They weren't at the time.
No.
But there was some other factors at play with that. But it was very interesting to see him, wow, he is going to make the jump. So, I don't know. I'm kind of curious to see what happens.
Well, didn't he get fired
from Florida
State?
Do what?
Didn't he get released from Florida State?
I
thought he got fired.
I think he was going to get fired, and he resigned.
Okay.
I think that's what was
that might have been
I could be wrong, but that was so long ago. But anyways...
yeah, it's been like 5 years.
I don't know. I kind of feel like Oklahoma's a bigger brand
than LSU.
Yeah, I don't know. They're both major programs. I feel like, okay, here's my thing. I feel like, and I know this is going to sound stupid because in my mind it feels like it sounds stupid, but Oklahoma I feel like is a bigger brand, but LSU is a better program, a better set of program. And I just think that I think LSU has better facilities, more fertile recruiting ground,
right?
Where they're at geographically, you're right there. Louisiana's got some players anyway,
right?
But then you have Florida right here, You have Texas right here.
Right.
You have Arkansas right there. And Mississippi right here. All four of those states that I just mentioned are, full of talent.
Right.
And so I feel like though you're set up better, you got probably the most recognizable stadium in
one of the biggest. I agree, 100%.
Craziest fan bases in the country.
Right.
But I just feel like Oklahoma. I guess I'm thinking just because of like all the the Barry Switzer and Bob Stoops teams, like their brand is just, to me, seems bigger. And maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm just missing something.
I think it's a moot point. I think that both programs are very good, very well recognized.
Yeah.
But I guess what I'm trying to get at with Riley is you are already established at Oklahoma.
Right.
You're already, counting out last week and undefeated.
Okay. Here's my thing is this. This is my thing. And I guess I'm starting to lean towards LSU. I'm starting to say Lincoln go. But here's my thing. What has LSU always been known for?
Defensive backs.
Okay. What is Oklahoma's weakest link? Okay.
Well, defense.
Defense in general. Just defense. Insert your position pick.
Right.
The defense has always been the problem for Oklahoma.
Right.
Lincoln Riley is a great offensive mind. He is going to have no problem, and it's proven that you can put together an offense. Look at LSU in 2019 when they had when they had Brady and I'm talking about the
staff. I get you.
They bring in Joe Burrow, and they already had the weapons the year before, and the offense didn't do anything.
Right.
And then the year, the next season, was it Joe Brady? Is that his name?
I think so.
Now I can't remember the offense coordinator, the actual offense coordinator. Anyways.
Right, because Brady was just a passing game coordinator.
Yeah, but he had all these like different tweaks and stuff that he did.
Right.
That helped them propel that offense, and that was one of the best offenses the SEC had seen in decades.
Well, not just the SEC, but
in the country.
The NCAA had seen.
But I think that Lincoln Riley could go there and replicate the exact same model and still have a good defense.
I mean, I'm not disagreeing with any of what you're saying, but it will take him at least a year.
Oh yeah,
maybe two to get to the same part or position he's at Oklahoma, where he is, top 10 ranked at least consistently every year with a chance to get to the national title. And then you got to take into account too, he's got Alabama to play every single year. He might not even make the conference title game in the SEC versus the Big 12 where he's going to be there.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
The brands are what they are. LSU versus, you could argue one way or the other, and I'll listen to both arguments. I'm not, which one's more nationally known. They're both huge, but he's going to make the jump. They're making the jump to the SEC regardless.
Right.
So does he want to go into the SEC knowing what he's got versus I might get there?
Right.
That's where I think he has to weigh that.
I agree.
But anyways, going to move on. Excuse me. Well, the next one was Oklahoma Baylor, and his loss to Baylor, but and
which we talked about that too, is that there could be a major tie in the Big 12, which the team that I picked,
and I'm going to hit on that for just a minute.
But the team that I've been talking about the last few weeks that I think could wind up winning the Big 12 is Oklahoma State, and they're still sitting in a very good. They control their own destiny.
They control their own destiny. You're absolutely right, 100%. And an outside shot on the national title picture.
Yes, I think.
Excuse me.
My thing is if they win the Bedlam game, if they win out, they win or they're in the Big 12 championship.
Yeah.
If they win the Big 12, I don't think you can leave them out.
I don't think you can either. Not because there's a lot of Big 12, Big 10 teams there that are going to these next.
They're going to play their way out.
They're going to play their way out, and hopefully one of them will play their way in. But with Oklahoma State, I think they're at 9 right now in the national rankings, somewhere in there, the college football rankings. With all that going on ahead of them, and hopefully they're hoping Cincinnati kind of stubbles their foot too.
Right.
They can probably play their way in. But Baylor was very, very smart, and I don't know how the coach thought of it, if somebody upstairs told him. But they're up late, up by 7, late in the game, within field goal range. I think it's probably a 35, 40-yarder. He kicks the field goal with seconds left on the clock. I mean, 4 seconds on the clock. He kicks the field goal.
They actually had to clear the field for him to kick this.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there thinking, why in the world are you kicking a field goal?
I don't think it was 4 seconds. I think it was 1 second.
I'm saying there was enough
time. I
time.
thought the game was over, and they had to bring everybody back out for that last play.
And I don't know the Baylor's coach's name, but they asked him, why the field goal? That was the first question asked. And he said, I needed the points in case of a tiebreaker.
Yeah. That's pretty smart.
I mean, genius. Yeah. I don't know how I don't know if he thought of that or if somebody upstairs was like, hey, we need to kick a field goal in this situation.
Yeah.
Late in the game. And put it in his ear. But smart. Very smart play, in my opinion. But I'm going to move on because we've already talked about Oklahoma and what might happen with them. But the Auburn-Mississippi State game. I know you've seen the score, but have you seen the highlights?
It kind of ticks me off. I turned it off at halftime, kind of like that video that I was sending you.
Right.
Where, you turned the game off at halftime, didn't you? Yeah.
We did too.
I switched and started watching a different game. I can't remember which game I was watching now, but I quit watching the game at halftime because I actually had bet on Auburn. And
he was like, "Oh, money in the bank, baby!
I had bet
money
on Auburn,
in the bank."
And I had picked Auburn on a pick'em board I was on.
Right.
And I was like, "Oh, okay, it's over.
It's done."
So I'm gonna go check on some other games, see what other games I got going on here.
Right.
And then I look at the score later, and I'm thinking, and I'm looking, and I'm like, why didn't I get points for this? Why didn't I get? And I was like, are you kidding me? What?
Mississippi State came back and beat them.
Yes, and I don't know. It just
Auburn being Auburn.
That's why you don't bet on Auburn.
That's the only thing I can say about that is Auburn being Auburn.
Auburn is so up and down. You don't bet on Auburn.
No.
And that was just my mistake.
No, when you see that on the board, you just scroll to the next game because I'm not even going to hang on it because it's just Auburn being Auburn. But I can imagine a lot of the Auburn fans and boosters are going, we should not have gotten rid of Gus Malzahn at this point.
Yeah, for real.
I mean, seriously.
Honestly.
They are so up and down offensively.
Well, they've proven that they have enough talent to win ball games. I mean, you see what they did.
Absolutely.
They beat Ole Miss, and I mean they've been in competitive ball games.
Right.
And I still feel like the Iron Bowl, the Alabama game, that they have a shot.
I don't know that. Right. I don't know that it's a given that Alabama will win it. Now
I don't either. But if you have Gus Malzahn, it's even bigger.
It's a bigger game. But Alabama controls their own destiny to the SEC title game. I don't know that they flip up, stub their toe, whatever you want to say in this situation against Auburn because that game determines whether they get to play Georgia in the SEC title game, and that game determines, they got to beat Auburn to get to Georgia, and that Georgia game determines are they in the playoffs or not. That's the long-term goal. Now the A&M them losing, and Nick Saban said, if I'm going to lose, I'm going to lose early, and he did. Texas A&M kind of caught them off guard. I don't see Saban losing that game.
I don't know.
We'll see.
We'll see when we get there. That's next week, but I don't know.
Still a week out. Anyway, so we're going to talk about some games next week, this upcoming Saturday. And one of the big games, actually, I'm going to save that one because we just talked about Alabama. I'm going to stay on Alabama's topic. They play Arkansas this week.
Yeah.
Arkansas is ranked 21 in the college football playoff rankings. I don't see any way that Alabama, for the reason I just said, I don't see Alabama losing.
Where's the game at? Is it in Tuscaloosa?
I've got it right here.
Oh, do you?
No.
Well, I got it. It's in Tuscaloosa. Yeah, I don't think there's a chance.
Even if it was in Arkansas, I don't know.
Wait a minute.
I don't see that.
I don't know about this, though. Alabama's a 20.5-point favorite.
I'll take it.
You take them to cover?
Take them to cover.
I think Arkansas, it's a much closer game than 21 points.
Well, here's my point, is Alabama needs to convince the committee, and I think they have it. I mean, they're obviously ranked 2.
Just win. Just win.
Right, just win. But I get that. But they need to win this game convincingly. They need to beat Auburn convincingly, and they need to just win. Just beat Georgia.
Yeah.
And you're sitting there with a lot of one-loss teams looking for the college football playoffs. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
They need to have style points, and that's.
I agree, but
I could see them beating them by 28 or 35 points.
I don't know.
I can see it. Now, I can also see the flip side of that because Arkansas is not a bad team. They're not a bad coach team.
Not a bad team at all.
But
I think Alabama wins the game. I'd be surprised if Arkansas walked away with the win. I'd be surprised.
Oh, I don't think that's going to happen.
But I think it's going to be a close game. I think it'll be a close game. I think it's one that it takes halftime for Alabama to really pull away. But I still think, even at that, I think they're closer than 21. Like I can see a 17-point game. I mean,
I could also see it being a very close game at halftime, or not a close game at halftime, a one-sided affair at halftime, and Arkansas making it respectable in the second half.
I think it'll be a tight game. I really do.
I can see it, but
I think it'll be less than 21 points. Honestly, I think I may jump on that spread before that changes because I can see that line changing.
I can see it, but then I can also see Alabama thinking we need to win and put them away early and just run the score up.
I will say, though, how many more games you got to talk about right there for this week?
Just 2 more.
Okay, well, go ahead. Because I got 2 games right here that I didn't realize were this week that most of America probably won't care about, but I think are big games.
Okay.
But anyways.
So, no, the 2 more I'm going to talk about are nationally relevant. The first game, I'm saving my first one. I'm going to save it for last. The next one I'll talk about is Oregon and Utah.
Yeah,
and I seen the spread on this, and I told you I won't tell you the spread off air.
This must be one I'm going to bet on. You must be.
I guarantee you that this is a Jesse bet.
Yeah, probably so.
This is a Jesse bet. But I'm so, when I first seen it, I was like, you have got to be kidding me. But then I can also see it happening because Utah has a very good football team. The line in it, and just as a reminder, Oregon in the college football playoff rankings is number 3.
Yeah.
Utah is ranked at 23. The line is Utah by 3.
Utah by 3?
Utah -3.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's definitely one I'm going to bet on. There's
Over-
no way Oregon loses this ball game.
Over under is 59.
No. Wait, is it in Utah? Is that why they're doing that?
It's at Utah.
It's in okay. Well, Utah is tough at home, but they're not. Oregon's not losing to Utah. I can already tell you right now.
Are we going to put this on our board?
Thibodeau, yeah, we'll put it on the. Well, I don't know. Is there any chance you're picking Utah?
Chances are.
Oh, really? Okay, then I'll put it on there. Thibodeau, man, is playing good football. There's no way. Now, I could see it being close. I could see it being a field goal game.
I've got another game we need to talk about.
I could totally see it being a field
just
goal
because
game.
of the line, but go ahead.
I
just seen it.
I'm just saying I could totally see it being a very close game. But you're giving me Oregon +3? Actually, plus anything. But no, I'm taking Oregon all day.
Let me ask this: if the line was Oregon +10 or -10, Oregon -10,
I'd take Utah.
You take Utah to cover.
If it's Oregon 10-point favorite,
yes,
I'd take Utah just because I think it could be a tight game.
I think it is a tight game.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it's a -3 on the spread for Utah.
But they're saying Utah is a 3-point, like Utah's going to win by a field goal is what that means. No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Okay. So
absolutely not.
Okay.
And that must be. I think sometimes that line changes based on how people are betting.
Right, but
so a lot of people must be betting on Utah, and that has changed so much to where it's Utah is now a 3-point favorite. That's the only thing I could figure.
Okay. So I'm going to get into my last game in just a moment, but I just seen this and I cannot believe it. Who would you take straight up? Baylor and Kansas State.
Baylor.
By how much?
Probably a touchdown.
Kansas State -1.
Wow, that's another. Yeah, I'm probably gonna make those bets.
Yeah, I had a feeling.
As I walk out the door, I'm gonna be making these bets.
I don't doubt it. Anyways,
actually, we'll probably parlay that spread with the Baylor and Oregon game because that's to me that seems like easy money.
That's easy money.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so 2 games I just want to hit on really quick, and we ain't got to spend time on these. I just now saw these games were happening, and want to hear what you think about them.
I think I know one of them, but go ahead.
Probably. I didn't know they were playing this week, but this is the first game I want to talk about is the one that I predicted to be the Big 12 championship game, and that's Iowa State and Oklahoma. It's in Norman, and it's a 12 o'clock kickoff.
Ooh.
And this is a game that honestly,
that's a big one.
Yeah, Lincoln Riley's got to win it because now you have the loss to Baylor. You don't have a loss to fall back on. You know what I mean?
No.
So he's got to win, but at the same time, Matt Campbell's sitting at 6-4. They beat Oklahoma in the regular season last year. He needs the win, and it's a big game, huge game, and they're both talented. Brock Purdy's playing some pretty good football now as of late. This is a game that could keep Oklahoma out of the playoff. This could totally end their chances of ever even touching the playoff.
Yeah, you're right.
Which could possibly
what's that right
knock
on that
the
line?
big.
Is that line 3.5 for Oklahoma?
For Oklahoma, yeah, 3.5.
Ooh. That's about right.
Yeah,
that's about right.
That's one that would be tough to bet on. I don't know. But anyways,
I almost would take Iowa State to cover.
Yeah, I
think Iowa State can win.
I think they can win.
I do too.
I think that they can win. The other game that, and you're going to be kind of surprised by this line, but I don't know. If at the start of the season, I would have been like, yeah, this line all day long. But now where we're at, I don't know.
I think it's the game I'm looking at right now.
Wake Forest and Clemson.
Wake Forest, that's the one I thought.
And it's in Clemson.
Yeah.
And Clemson they can't afford to take another loss. They have to win this ball game. But Wake Forest,
why do they need to win it?
You can't go 7-4. You can't go 7-3, but you can't go 7-4. I mean,
yeah, but I think it means more to Wake Forest.
Oh, absolutely. It does mean more to Wake Forest. Right. But if you're Dabo, you got to win out. You got to finish the season. What would I put him?
10-3.
9-3. Win this week would be 8. Next week, 9-3.
9-3 with the bowl. The bowl game was what I was talking about.
Right.
10.
Yeah. So you have got to, you got to get that magic number 10 at least, because if he finishes,
and I could see if they get to 10-3, they might be like a top 25 ranked team.
Well, here's the thing: if you so if you lose this week, you're 7-4.
Mm-hmm.
I swear, that South Carolina game. I'm not kidding. There's a chance. Let's just say this. Let's say they lose this week and next week.
Oh gosh.
And they finish 7-5.
Oh gosh, that's
huge.
See, I was thinking 8-4 with a win over South Carolina.
That's even at that. It's not a good year. You remember having Clemson Tom on, which we're going to get him back on. But you remember having Clemson Tom on, and he talked about, we don't like those 7-5, 8-4 years. Right. They're staring down the barrel of one.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing, but
that's
the line in that is Clemson by 4.5. And if I was a betting man, I would take Wake Forest to cover.
See, that's what I'm thinking too. I don't know, but
I would take
anyway,
them to cover. Anyways, the last game I'm going to talk about is absolutely huge for the Big Ten. This is one of the games we talked about earlier about they're going to play themselves not entirely out of the playoffs. The Big Ten, I think, will still be represented.
Yeah. Well, maybe.
Well, okay. So Michigan State, all three teams hold their own destiny in their hands. Essentially.
Michigan State, Michigan, Ohio State.
Yes.
Yeah.
Michigan State and Ohio State play this weekend. The line, it's actually in Columbus. The over-under is 68.5 points. I would be willing to bet the under. The line is Ohio State by 19.
Whew.
I don't know that they're that much better than Michigan State.
Michigan State's secondary is a liability.
Yes, it is. It's sus.
But
it's sus.
Man, I don't know. Kenneth Walker
is going to be the X factor.
Yes,
I 100% agree. I think
I think they're gonna they're gonna do everything they can to shut down the run game, and they're gonna make that quarterback make plays. Can he make plays?
I don't know that Ohio State's defense is that good.
I don't know.
Maybe.
Here's my thing though. Here's why I say maybe the Big Ten makes a playoff. Listen to this scenario.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say, and this could happen. This is not far fetched. Let's say Michigan State let's say Michigan State wins this weekend.
Yep. I know where you're
And
going
then
with this.
next weekend they lose to Penn State.
Lose to Penn State.
And Ohio State beats Michigan.
And they could play themselves out.
All three teams are now sitting at 2 losses.
Right. Because that would put, and I'm assuming,
Iowa State has the
Georgia wins the SEC.
Yeah.
If Georgia would win the SEC, Alabama would be out.
Yep. Wake Forest, let's say they win out. Okay.
Do you think
Actually, let's not even use Wake Forest. Let's just use Cincinnati. Cincinnati wins out.
Cincinnati would be in that situation?
Oklahoma wins out. Or not Oklahoma, but Oklahoma State wins out.
Right.
So now you have Georgia, Cincinnati, Oklahoma State, and let's say Oregon wins out. Oregon.
There's your 4.
There's your 4.
And the big 10.
The Big Ten's out.
Is OUT out?
Yep.
That's a possibility. I was actually when I was looking that up, I was looking up to see who Penn State.
It's possible.
Michigan
There's a
State.
lot of crazy scenarios that could end up happening. Here's my thing though: a deserving team is going to end up getting left out of this thing.
I mean, Ohio State.
The way it's looking,
even if Ohio State wins this game and loses to Michigan the next.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
The thing that's going to get it is everybody's going to be looking for Cincinnati to trip up. When does Cincinnati and SMU? Is it this week or next week? Cincinnati plays SMU. It's coming up because we're wrapping up the season right now. If it's oh my gosh, how have we not talked about it? It is this week.
Is SMU?
SMU, yeah. And this is another game. I can't believe I overlooked that. This is a game that, and SMU is no longer ranked. Did they end up losing last week?
I don't know.
I'm pulling it up right now.
That's fine.
Okay, so they lost to Memphis. Okay, I forgot about that game. SMU's a team that's good enough to beat Cincinnati, I think. Now it's in Cincinnati.
There's a lot of teams good enough to beat Cincinnati.
Yeah, for real. But I think this is the only option that it gives us because Cincinnati's not going to lose. Who they have after? They're not going to lose to ECU. I mean, ECU is sneaky good, but they're not that sneaky good. No.
And I think Cincinnati sees the writing on the wall as far as the Big 12, or Big 12, Big 12 too, but the Big 10.
Yeah.
They can see that, and it's very possible. There's going to be, I think the Big 10 is going to be on the outside looking in on this, unless Ohio State wins out. If Ohio State wins out, then they're in.
Yeah.
But and I'm going to be honest. If Ohio State wins out, Georgia wins out, Cincinnati wins out, and Oregon wins out.
So Ohio State, Georgia, Cincinnati, Oregon.
That might be your 4.
That's your 4. Yeah, I think it is your 4.
Because I think
Alabama's already played their way out of it.
I think the Big 12 is out unless something like the Big 10 plays herself out of this.
Well, my thing is even if Oklahoma State wins out,
right,
but all the other 4 teams you just mentioned went out too,
right,
Oklahoma State's still left out.
That's what I'm saying. The Big 12 is now left out.
The Big 12's out. Which
I
is unfortunate because Oklahoma, you can't convince me that Oklahoma State's not better than Cincinnati.
Right.
It's impossible.
No,
you won't convince me.
I'm 100% with you, but I've also said on this show that this is the year it needs to happen.
Yeah.
For either way, either they get in and they get smashed and everybody goes, "Okay, you're not ready," or they get in and they win and they at least get to the title game against Georgia, because I think Georgia will be there.
Oh, no doubt.
They get to the title game. Okay, well, maybe we need to rethink the way we look at things. You know what I'm saying? So it's one way or the other on this for me. I think this year they need to let Cincinnati in, even if that means leaving out a
I'd love to see
team.
if Cincinnati's going to be in there. I want to see Cincinnati as a 4 seed. I want to see that Georgia-Cincy rematch from last year.
Yeah,
that's what I want to see.
That would be interesting. But can you really say an undefeated Cincy being a 4 seed underneath Ohio State, a 1 loss?
Yes.
Ohio State or Oregon?
I have one. Well, it's not one word. One phrase. Strength of schedule.
I'm not disagreeing, but they also have an argument that they didn't lose a game.
Okay.
They should be the 2 seed.
Okay. Flip that. Give Ohio State Cincy schedule and see how many games Ohio State loses. 0. How many games does Oregon lose? 0.
I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying.
You know what? I'll take it a step further. I will take this a step further. Give Tennessee Cincinnati's schedule. See how many games Tennessee loses. The only game that might be questionable is Notre Dame.
I don't think we beat Notre Dame.
I don't know that we don't. I'm going to be honest. I don't know that we don't.
I think that's a different level for Tennessee right now. But that's just
I don't know. Okay. Do you think Ole Miss could beat Notre Dame? Answer it honestly.
It would be a good game. I don't know.
Tennessee and Ole Miss was a good game, Keith. Put your mind around, wrap your head around that.
I'm not disagreeing with
I'm just
the
saying,
premise, but Tennessee had a lot riding on the Ole Miss game. It was Kiffin coming back as a head coach.
We would have a lot riding.
It was at home.
Yeah. Okay.
You know what I'm saying? There was a lot that was in Tennessee's favor in that game.
Okay.
It was riding high.
Okay. Alabama, Notre Dame.
Oh, it's Alabama every day.
Okay. We gave Alabama all they could handle for a little while.
I mean,
when you say Alabama all day, you're saying Alabama convincingly. You're saying Alabama a huge blowout.
42-21.
I don't. Do you think Notre Dame scores 20? There's no way. Well, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
No, actually, no. I do know. 14 is what they. 41-14 was the final. I'm thinking of the year that they had.
Teo,
yeah, probably the best team that they've had since Brian Kelly's been there.
Yeah.
Now this defense does look good, but that offense that he had that year was way better than the offense they have now. Jack Cohn is not the answer, not at all.
No, I agree.
Anyway,
I 100% agree. But anyways, is that it? I've talked about my games.
Yeah, we talked a lot.
Did we talk about the line in that game?
Which game?
Michigan State, Ohio State. Yeah, we talked about 19.
We did. 19. It was 19, which I'm going to bet on.
I would take Michigan State to cover, but I'm straight pick. I'm taking Ohio State.
Yeah.
And next week's going to be really interesting because we get to talk about Harbaugh.
What is your fascination with Harbaugh?
Because I know it gets on your nerves.
It does get on my nerves. I can't stand Harbaugh.
That's why.
Anyway.
I love to talk about Harbaugh just because
he's just so
overhyped. That is the anti-Jesse thing.
I feel like I'm talking to Colin Coward when we're talking about Harbaugh.
I don't like Harbaugh. I think he's a good coach.
I do not.
But
I think he's a middle pack.
So no, he's better than middle of the pack.
I think he's the
third best coach in the Big 12.
I think he's an overhyped Butch Jones.
Oh, he's much better than Butch Jones.
He's an overhyped Butch Jones.
No, he's much better than Butch Jones.
Anyway.
I think he's the third best coach in the Big 10.
Okay. I was wondering where he's going. No, I don't. Okay, who do you have? Who's ahead of him? Who are the two ahead of him?
Franklin and Rondé.
Okay, so you really think Kirk Ferentz is lower than Jim Harbaugh?
Yes.
Dude, no, I don't think. Absolutely not. Jeff Brom. Brom is
100%. Jeff Brom was on the hot seat at the beginning of the year.
We're talking. Okay. Jeff Brom is at Purdue. The same Purdue that beat.
If he was such a good head coach, why doesn't he get any attention from LSU?
He's had job opportunities that he's passed on to stay at Purdue. Why, I don't know. But
who, Tennessee?
No, he had. There was a big job offer.
Texas.
It wasn't the Texas job.
I'm trying to think of the big jobs that came up in here recently.
Yeah, was. I don't think it was. Was it Florida State? I don't feel like it was last year or the year before. It was a big job that everyone thought he was for sure gone, and for whatever reason he stayed at Purdue. But he's been at Purdue for so long that I guess the roots are there. Why leave at this point?
If you're a great head coach, you don't stay at Purdue. I'm sorry, you don't.
Yeah, I get that. I'm just saying, if you flip the roles, Jeff Brom has over. This is my thing. Jeff Brom has outperformed with what he has. Harbaugh has underperformed.
So you're saying a top 10 team is underperforming?
They're top 10 right now.
They've only lost one game this year.
Yeah, they're top 10
He has been
this
consistently for the past couple of years competing for a national title, or at least the conversation.
What?
He's in the conversation
for a couple weeks for the preseason. He has not been in the he has not been in the conversation the back half of the schedule at all. No. That's not the I may have to cut this out of the video because this is no. Oh
Anyways,
my
that's it for us today.
gosh.
We'll talk about this again next week, guys.
Gosh.
That's it for me. Are you good?
No, I'm not good.
All right. So we'll see you guys again next week. Appreciate it, guys.